All right. Well, hello and welcome to our 2023 Fall Kickoff. I'm super stoked for tonight. We're going to have an amazing time. Basically just diving in and saying, all right, what does Vex IQ competition full volume look like? How do we play? Yeah. So I'm going to basically take this from the top. We're going to say, all right, if you know nothing about full volume, we're going to teach you, basically, I'll kind of go over everything. From the top, what I would do, I'm going to pretend like I've never seen the game before, and then I'm going to say, all right, I actually have seen it, and then I'm going to show you some of the things that I've come up with over the kind of time that we've been playing with this. So I'm super stoked. I want to show you first the process that I use when I get a new challenge, when I get full volume, when I get Slapshot, when I get whatever the next year's game is. What do I actually do? Like, what goes through my head so that I can design a robot, and then how am I actually going to use that? So right now, I've got a bunch of blank paper here. I have no idea what's going to end up on it. We are going to end up with some awesome robot designs, though. I don't know what they look like. We're going to kind of walk through that together. And yeah, so that's kind of how that's going to work. Some things, just kind of technology things. Is this meeting being recorded? Yes. I'm going to go ahead and record it, and I'll post it online, and I'll send you guys all a link. So in case you missed part of it, but I will tell you, being here live, way better, because then we can interact. You can ask me questions, all that good stuff. Let's see, other things. Oh, the chat is turned off. You have probably noticed. So if you like hit chat, you're like, oh, I can't chat with you. That's totally fine. There is another button at the bottom that says Q&A. So if you have any questions, you have any thoughts, go ahead and put them in the Q&A. At some point tonight, we'll turn the chat back on so you can like send me messages and stuff. We'll get there in. Actually, we might just do that now, but I'll turn that on in just a few minutes here for when we hit that part of tonight. But first, I think that, yeah, we're ready to go. I'm super excited for tonight. Yeah, cool. So let's just dive into it. Let's dive in head first. So when the new game comes out, what do we do? Basically, when a brand new challenge comes out, there's obviously kind of two parts. There's the game video, and then there's the rules. And reading the rules takes forever, and so we're not going to do that tonight. But well, the first thing that I always like to do is I like to watch the game animation. And I'm not someone who will watch it once. I'm always very glad when they like post it on YouTube right away. That way I can watch it like 5 times. I know especially this year, like I watched the thing and it went so fast. There were like so many blocks and so many points and so many weird bonuses. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And so I had to like rewind and do it a whole bunch of times. And so what I figured we'd do, just so we're all on the same page, just in case someone hasn't seen it before, I'm gonna play the game animation one final time. Just so we can kind of like see where we are, see how things are going, and get ready to move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we are going to go ahead, we'll just watch the game animation one final time, and then we'll go from there. Oh, look, you won't be able to hear sound. Now you can. And we'll move forward. So, Vex IQ competition, full volume. Oh yeah, some things to watch out for. So when I watch the game animation, I don't just watch it as a movie. I forgot to tell you guys this. Just one more thing. Basically, when I watch the game animation, what I do is I'm looking for a few key things. The first thing I'm looking for is points. How do you score points? All those numbers, I want to look at those numbers. The second thing that I really want to look for when I am in a Vex IQ game animation, though, is the geometry of the field. Basically, how does the field look? And then any key rules. If there's anything that's weird that like wasn't there last year, like for example in Rise Above, there was like an unlimited size box after the match started. It was like, whoa, that's crazy, that's unusual. What other things have we had? We had a limit to size box. We had a height limit. Usually height is unlimited once the match starts. In Squared Away, height was limited. So we're looking for those kinds of things as well. Maybe you can only carry one game piece at a time. I don't know. I'll tell you there's none of them in full volume. There's nothing weird in full volume. We'll go over it later. But go ahead and keep an eye out for the points, because what I'm going to ask you guys to do is afterward, we're going to go ahead and review those. So let's go and actually watch it now. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So hopefully you've seen that before. I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page. We don't have like one person who's playing Slapshot or something like that. So hopefully you guys have all seen that before. Hopefully you kind of know what we're going into. But that is that. Cool. So let's go ahead and dive into it. If you have a sheet of paper and a pencil or a pen, I'm going to use a marker so you guys can read it better. Now is a great time to get those. And we are going to dive into what the rules are for the game. So basically, if we're going to play the game, one of the most important things is we got to know, how do you score points, right? There's a few other key rules that I look for, so I thought I'd just kind of share with you. When I see a game, what do I look for? First, I look for how to score points. We talked about that. That's big. Key limitations and exceptions. That's like, can you only carry 3 blocks at a time? Can you go as tall as you want? Is there something cool you can do at the end? Can you like sit in this special expansion zone and like reach over a fence or something like that? You know, that sometimes happens. So you just got to be ready. You got to know, all right, what are those things? Next thing is there something that's going to disqualify you? Last year, this was a bummer. There were so many teams who got disqualified because there were a few like weird things you could do that would disqualify you. That was very unfortunate. This year, I don't think there's any. We'll kind of talk about that later. And field geometry, you know? Does it fit in the hole? Does the disc fit under the bar? How hard is it to shoot? Does the purple cube fit out of the supply zone easily, or does it have to be lifted out? How many cubes fit in a goal? All that kind of stuff. That's just field geometry. We'll talk about that as well. But let's go and dive into the first one. I'm going to go and turn the chat on, and I want you to message me, how do you score points? What do you guys think? So go and throw it in there. I can see all of them, even though you guys might not all be able to see all of them. Go ahead and message me. It can be anything from like, red cube is 5 points. How much is it if you drop a cube in the goal? How much is it if you have a uniform goal? Go ahead and see how many of these you remember. Send me what you got in the chat. All right, grabbing blocks. Yeah, that's certainly true. Parking is 10 points. Yes, you get an additional 10 points if both robots park. What do we have? Knocking off red cubes. Fully parking is 10 points. Emptying the supply zone, that's going to be 20. Putting blocks in the goals. I see a uniform bonuses. Uniform bonus is 10 points. Yes, blocks in a goal, 1 point each. 5 if you knock off the blocks. You have height bonuses. If you clear the supply zone, that's probably the biggest single bonus, right? That's 20. That one's huge. Yeah, let's see. What else do we have? I think we've hit most of them. I see double parking. Yeah, that one's going to be interesting. There's height bonuses. 30 points for uniform if you get all 3 of them. Yes. And 30 points if you fill up all the goals all the way. Let's see. What else do we have? Scoring in the goals. Yes, generically. That is a way to score points. You got the height bonus. Do you think scoring uniform is the best strategy? I think I would agree with that. We'll talk about why in a minute. All cubes are 1 point. Half parked is 5. Fully parked is 10. Very nice. Cool. It looks like you guys got most of them, which is fantastic. In terms of like what I wrote down, I just like made a list of them. It's pretty straightforward. You guys don't have to read it, but you could imagine what it says, right? It says everything that you guys have just said. This is my list so that when I do the game, basically I'll just create a list. I'll say, hey, this is how I score points, and I'll write them all down. We just did it, so you guys don't have to do that. Limitations and exceptions, that we already talked about. It's like, all right, what's weird this year in the rules? The first thing that's weird, and this one's got a bit of a funny story behind it that maybe I shouldn't tell, but I'll tell it anyway. The size box is 11 by 20 by 15. And if you've been paying attention for like the past 4 years, it's always 11 by 19 by 15. Why is that? Why do we need an extra inch? Just for reference, that extra inch is like kind of hard to measure. I have 2 ideas why this might be, but I don't know. I have 3 ideas, I guess. One is what probably is, right? Is that they gave us more room because it's more robot, it's more fun. You have like more stuff. This year has a lot of blocks involved. Maybe it's longer. The other thing is they had this measuring tool. So I don't know if you've been to a competition that uses it, but it's like this big blue arch that you like drive your robot under. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not positive, I'm pretty sure it only measured 20-inch robots for some reason. And there was like no easy way to switch it to 19, or there was like some weird modification you could make, but like that was strange. So maybe they just increased it for that. I also noticed bite is 11 by 20 by 15. Not entirely sure why that is, but you know, something interesting. So why that is, I don't know. Something else cool, you can carry unlimited cubes. That's pretty obvious. Like, just carry as many as you want. You don't have to be limited. I remember back in the day, we were in next level. It's these guys. We were carrying these guys across the field, and there was a limitation. You could carry as many as you wanted, but you could only lift one of them off the ground. So they all had to be touching the ground, except one you could pick up and like use it for stacking. So you're like stacking with these one at a time, but we got disqualified because, well, we had like a bunch of them in a line in our robot, and they like started to lift the middle one, like lifted up off the ground, and it kind of got on top of the other one. Oh, let's see if I can show you. It was like this, and it like kind of went up there, and then like there was another thing on our robot I got stuck on, and then it was like certainly up in the air, and we were like, they're like, you're disqualified for that. We're like, ah, bummer. So Yeah. This year is pretty sweet. We can carry unlimited. I guess that leads really nicely into the next one is common disqualifications. What are common ways we're going to get disqualified? I have no idea. I just said no obvious ones yet. We'll see. If you get DQ'd, message me, and maybe we'll see if it's a common way to get disqualified. Like I said, last year, people got disqualified all across the board. You get disqualified if you bumped a disc in the wrong way in the touchdown zone. There was a weird way you could get disqualified where you'd, like, be in the touch, you'd, like, reach out, touch down, and drive into the expansion zone afterward. That was strange. If you touched down like while you weren't in the expansion, there was lots of weird ways to get disqualified last year. If you shot a disc over the bar, like instant disqualification. This year, I think there's none of them. I don't know for sure. There might be one. So if you guys find it, let me know. But so far, it's looking a whole lot more promising than last year in terms of you not getting disqualified, which I'm stoked for. The last one's field geometry. Field geometry just means, all right, what shape is the field? What should I know about this? This is a bigger deal before you have a field. Once you have one, you're like, hey, this is like normal. We'll talk about it later as we're talking about individual robot strategies. This is things like, all right, how do cubes fit under the bars? Do the red cubes fit under, obviously the red cubes don't fit under the bars. Do the purple cubes fit under the bars? Do the green cubes fit under the bars? Which bars do they fit under? How hard is it to get in the supply zone? How many cubes can I fit in a goal? There's a way that red cubes can get stuck in goals. How does that work? What does that mean for us? All that kind of stuff, that is what we talk about when we talk about field geometry. So again, we'll talk about all that stuff later. You don't have to worry about it now. But just know that, like that is what field geometry means. Cool. All right, so you got field geometry, you got robots. The next step is we decide, all right, what kind of robot do we want to build? And you're like, well, what do we mean? Basically, the idea is I'll decide, before I even think about like what shape does the robot need to be, I'll decide, all right, what do I want my robot to do? What is my like ultimate goal for this robot? What kind of robot? Do I want a world champion robot? Do I want a robot that's just gonna like sit on the floor and look cool? Do I want a robot that'll win a local competition? Do I want a robot that'll win a local competition in California, or do I want one that'll win in Ohio? They're different robots, it turns out. So it's kind of up to you what you want to do. I'll tell you an interesting story. There's this really awesome robotics team, Spartan Robotics. It was not VexIQ, but really, really cool robotics team. Their goal was never to win. Their goal was to build like the coolest robot possible. And every year I could not wait for the robot to come out. They one year had this robot. It looked like a double switchblade, basically. It was like a super flat robot, really flat, like pitching in robots were. It was super short because I had to go into this bar. And then it would like unfold, and then it would like unfold again. And it had, I should put a video of it in here because it is so cool. Amazing robot, really cool thing. It like flips all over the place and pew, and then it like shoots out and is like a robot. And then it would shoot a ball and it would like fold itself back up and then go into the bar. It was super awesome. Also, it had this cool feature where if you were like driving and you were tilted as you were shooting, it was okay with that. Kind of a useless gimmick, but like super cool. So Spartan Robotics makes cool robots, but the point is their goal was to make just a cool robot. They did not care how, or they kind of cared. They didn't really care how competitive it was. And they were never that great, but everyone loved their robots. They once had this massive robot with like a gigantic arm. It was, I guess, kind of similar to a human arm, except it was like 4 or 5 feet tall, and they'd be like stacking the blocks using this gigantic arm. It was the hardest way possible to do it, but it looked really cool, and that was what mattered to them. So you want to know what you're going for. There's another team. We did not care, the team I was on actually, we did not care how pretty our robot was. It was super ugly always. And the other teams who'd like made pretty robots would tease us for how ugly and like mixed colors it was. It was just not a very pretty looking robot. But our goal was to be really good, and we were so good we won the world championship quite a few times. Because of it, we never looked pretty as we did it, but that didn't matter to us because our goal was to be good. What's the point though? Why, when you build a robot, you want to pick, all right, what do I want it to do? So just some simple examples of what this could look like. Maybe you say, all right, I want a robot that's easy to build. I want it to be a simple robot, but hey, I also want it to score a lot of points. Cool. Maybe you say, I want to make a robot that wins a local tournament. Cool. Maybe you're like, whoa, I got lots more ideas. Maybe I want to have fun. Maybe I want to get to Worlds. Maybe I want to just make it to finals. Maybe I want to win the world championship. Maybe I want to solve the challenge in a way that nobody else has thought of before. So there's all kinds of different ways to do it. For now, what I'd like to ask you guys is, what do you guys think? I'm going to go ahead and design a few robots during this meeting, and I want you guys' ideas. What kind of robot should I design? So go ahead and message me. What kind of robot should I do? I'll look through all your ideas, I'll read them out, and we'll pick some together. All right, we've got an inhaler robot, a robot with an escalator, a conveyor, a vaccine robot. I'm not sure I know what that is. Let's see, what else? A simple but high-scoring robot. All right. A high-scoring robot that's simple seems interesting. One that'll win worlds. A flying robot. I'd love to make that one. Let's see. A good version of a high-scoring robot. All right. One that holds 24 greens. A clawbot. I know how to design a clawbot. With a giant catapult. That'd be fun. A vacuum robot. A funny robot. All right. So I'm seeing all kinds of awesome ideas here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a forklift robot. I'm seeing a few trends. First, I see like a simple robot that still scores some points, but is like super simple, super easy to build. So we'll kind of start with that. And then also I see some more advanced robots. One that like maybe you take to a state or world championship, depending on where you live. So I'm gonna take those as my two goals. We'll see what happens. And I genuinely do not know what's gonna happen. So, and then afterward, I'm gonna have you guys design robots. I'll let you, if you wrote something that I didn't pick, I'll let you design that, and you will have a chance to basically share out and say, all right, hey, what did you design? But first, I wanna show you what I designed, and how I would actually go through this process. So the first thing I do is I look at the scores. And I say, all right, we're making a simple robot that is able to score a ton of points. Maybe not a ton, but quite a few points. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the points. I'll say, hey, all right, how can I get points? I got 1 point, 5 points, 10 points, 20 points, 5, 10. This looks like it could be up to 30 and like 10. All right, so let's pick the easiest ones first. You guys probably know this, but this is the easiest way to score points probably, right? The red block removed. If you go ahead and you like pick up a red block and throw it off the post, that's going to be 5 points. That's the equivalent of scoring 5 cubes in the goal. All right, that is something I am going to make sure that I do, for sure. A uniform goal with 2+ blocks. Ooh, all right, that seems good. That's 10 points. I like that. That looks pretty easy too. Basically, I have to score 2 blocks on a goal and I get 10 points. Blocking a goal, that's a solid way to score points because it's super easy, but it's only worth 1 point. So I'm thinking maybe not this, maybe I don't want to focus on this. I'll probably get it by accident as I do some of the other stuff. Empty the supply zone, that's 20 points. That could be really good too, but I'm probably not gonna be able to do everything. If I do empty the supply zone, I probably can't do the uniform goal. So I'm gonna have to figure out which one's more. Partial parking, that is like arguably the easiest thing on the planet to do a partial park. You just like drive up to the zone, and as long as some part of your robot is like pointy-ish, you get a partial park. Complete parking, that's going to be much more challenging. We'll talk about the requirements of that probably for another robot, but that looks hard. And double parking, see, all right, well, I'll show you guys what I think about double parking. Double parking looks hard. And then lowest level in all goals, this is just going to be directly related to how many blocks I score and what color I score. So, all right, that seems reasonable. Let's see what else we can do. So once I've got an idea of how I score points, I say, all right, what would I want a robot to do? So I've got myself a robot, and it is basically, I imagine it as like a big black box. Here we go. Here's our robot. Boom, it's this black box. It's going to drive around the field to score points. How does it score points? There's a few things it's going to do. For example, what is the most important thing a robot has to do in order to score points in general? Like any year, any time, what is usually the first thing a robot has to do? It's the first thing you do when you start. You can throw it in the chat if you want. See what we got. Yeah, you got it. Drive, obviously. You gotta drive. If you can't move, you're not gonna score any points. Oh dear. There's this funny story at camp I was teaching once. And this guy came in and he was like, hey, I've got a really, really cool robot that I want to build. And I was like, great. How does it look? And if you ever see an ARMbot, it is actually just a gigantic arm. It like doesn't drive. And so I looked at it, I was like, well, how's it gonna move around? He's like, I'll solve that later. It's got wheels on the bottom, I'm sure it'll work. The wheels are spinning the wrong way. They're like like a wheel is supposed to spin like this to make the robot go, his wheels are like this. It was not gonna work. But he's like, there's wheels on the bottom. I'm sure it'll move somehow. I'm like, okay. And so he builds this thing, and it did not move. He puts it on the field for our first match, and he can't drive it because there's no drive. And so obviously he scored like no points, and he was really sad. And so I was like, all right, look, we'll make a drive for it. And he made a drive, but it was the slowest drive you could imagine. Like, if you've seen like fast robots and then slow robots, it was 3 times slower than like the slowest robot you'd ever see on a real competition field. It was so slow. It took him like the entire match to get across the field. So because he had a bad drivetrain, he basically scored 0 points. I think one match he scored like 2 points, and he was like over the moon excited because that was so much for him. But the point is, drive. That's going to be the most important thing. What other things do we need to be able to do? These are going to be simple things. We're not going to say, all right, I need a claw to pick up cubes. You just say, all right, I need to pick up cubes. Maybe you say, all right, I need to be able to knock off red cubes. What other things could we need to do? We need to park. Yeah, that's certainly a way to score points. And I have you should probably have a brain attached. So let's see, what else do we got? Oh my, that's a long message. But yeah, so the point is, there's tons of ways to do it. What I do is I'll make a big list, and I'm not going to read through the whole list, but here's what I usually do. So I'll say, all right, we need to drive. Cool, we're driving. We got it driving. Then I'll start looking for other things. I'll be like, all right, maybe we need to knock the red cubes down. That seems important. Maybe we could do a partial park. What does that mean? That means that our robot is like just hanging over the supply zone. That seems pretty solid. Picking up green cubes. By the way, is it important to pick up a cube before you score it? Yes. Some robots, the thing that scores it is the same as picking it up. But some robots, it's not. I remember there was this competition once. They were frisbees. We were throwing these frisbees at the goal. This was not Vex IQ. This was like a long time ago. Basically, it was a big frisbee throwing game, and like tons and tons of frisbees. It was kind of scary, actually. They had to put big nets around the field because the frisbees would like come out and like hit people in the head, and that was bad. And so they're throwing all these frisbees across the field, having a great time. But some teams focused so much on throwing the frisbees, they forgot to actually pick them up. And so there were many teams who just genuinely couldn't score points because they forgot to pick up the frisbees. Now that's an extreme example, but the point is you don't want to focus so much on your scoring mechanism that you completely have like an awful pickup mechanism. They have to work together. So as I'm designing my robots, I'm going to make sure I design both of them in there. I don't want to be like, oh, I'll just solve the pickup mechanism later. I want to have some idea of what that's going to look like. What other things we do? I've got knock the red cubes off the pedestals. Yeah, that one's going to be easy. I'm probably just going to drive into them. That's a good thing to know. I want to make sure I do that. Picking up purple cubes. All right, maybe I want to score some purple cubes. You're like, hey, that sounds interesting. There's reasons that maybe we want to score purple cubes, maybe we don't. We'll kind of talk about why that might be later. We might want to sort the cubes. That's a good one. What if I pick up green and purple, but I want to keep that uniform goal? Maybe I need to sort the cubes inside my robot. And so I'll make a long list. I showed you guys the list before. This is my list. Your list is probably going to be different. Let's see if there's anything funny on here that you're like, all right, what's weird? Scoring red cubes, that means like putting them in the goal. Knocking red cubes, that is like, all right, I'm going to knock it off the post. Sorting cubes, that one's pretty obvious. Maybe I want to go faster. I threw that on there. I want to drive. Maybe I want to fast drive. I said, all right, what about a buddy park? What is a buddy park? This is kind of ridiculous and doesn't really apply to IQ. But I thought I'd throw it in here just because it's a funny story. So basically, there was a Vex V5 game, back before Vex was V5, where if you got to park on top of your partner, you got extra points. And you're like, that's weird. And so what people would do is they would have these big ramps, and people would drive on the ramps, and they would lift up the other robot. What's cool is you could use something like that this year. This is like wild thoughts that you should probably not implement. But I was like, on kickoff, I was like, hey, maybe I could use something like that. I get 10 points if I park, but if both of us park, it's 30 points. So maybe I could have something on my robot so that I could park the other guy. Maybe there's like something cool I could do there. And I'll talk through some ideas that I came up with. Having a forklift to pick them up, not a good idea. That does not seem like it's going to work for me. Maybe it'll work for you. Maybe you're like, hey, all of us are clawbots. We can afford to have a forklift. But most likely forklifts are going to be really challenging in IQ because of how light IQ is. Like fall on your face. But the point is that there are options if you want to see if you can get your partner in the zone as well. So we've got a robot. Then once I've got this, the next thing I do is I say, hey, all right, check this out. I've got myself a nice list. These are all the things I want to do. Hopefully you guys have some lists kind of similar to this, or you're just using mine, which is totally fine. And I cross off a bunch of them. I say, all right, look, for the robot I decided I want a robot that is like able to score a bunch of points, but is also pretty simple. So I'll just cross off all the things that I think I don't need. So I'll do something like this. You're like, whoa, all right, so simple high scoring robot. What does it look like? Obviously it needs to drive. I need to knock the reds because those are super easy. That's a lot of points. I'll pick up the green and I'll score the green. I'll get a partial park. I'm gonna go ahead and just cancel all the rest of these. That buddy park thing, that was kind of, that was not cool. Also, full park. That seems a lot harder than a partial park. That's only 5 points. I would rather knock a red cube. That seems much easier. I'd rather get a uniform goal. And something else interesting. Look, I can't pick up purples. If I can only pick up greens, there's a really cool bonus that comes with that, right? If my robot actually only picks up greens, I can't mix up the green and purples. And so it's going to be much easier for me to get that uniform goal bonus, won't it? So, this is kind of what I started with for my simple robot. Simple robot scores a lot of points. And let's go ahead and talk about how we could make one of these. So I don't entirely know how this is going to go. Let's see what we got, though. Here is my desk. I'm just going to go ahead and sketch on this paper, and we'll see what happens. There we go. All right, simple robot that scores. I'm just looking at my list right now. I see, all right, we got a drive. All right, I can do that. There we go. There's some drive, wheel the things. I want to be able to knock the red. The reds are just going to be able to be knocked off by this drive base. This shouldn't be too hard. Like the reds will kind of be chilling over here, and they'll be knocked off. I want to be able to pick up green cubes. For this robot, let's kind of do something like that. There we go. Green cubes are going to kind of come in here. This is just like, actually, no, I don't like that yet. This is how robot drawing often goes. You kind of like just roll with it. There we go. There's our cube. I want to pick it up. I'm going to make a claw, actually. That's a beautiful looking claw. You can tell that I'm very good at art, guys. Let me make a big claw, and woo! There we go. Look at that. And it's a claw that goes up and down. Doesn't look beautiful? So now I've got the ability to grab a green cube, score it on the goal. Can I knock red with this robot? For sure. I can knock the red. I can drive. I can score green cubes. I can partial park. This robot actually can do everything. Now, if this robot were in a match, how good would it be? Well, I don't know. If you could do this 6 times, so basically if you're able to score 6 green cubes, that's 10 seconds a cube, and park at the end, I can tell you it's 66 points. If you can score more, that's going to be even more points. So I kind of like this robot. This seems cool. Let's play with some other options. Say that I like the arm idea, but maybe it's kind of annoying that I have to pick the cubes up one at a time. Maybe I'm gonna, this kind of looks like a Dr. Seuss robot, but here we go. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Now look, I can pick up 3 cubes at a time. Huh, all right. Oh, wait, I can't drive. There we go. That looks interesting. That looks kind of scary. I don't think I like that robot. Why don't I like it? It looks too complicated to me. Also, it looks like if I were to drop all of them, like I'd have to put each one over the goals individually. It just seems kind of clunky. I don't think I like this robot. Cool idea, I would say. Maybe there's a better way to implement it, but for the time being, this robot's not looking so good. The main reason is I think it's too complicated. Also, look, there's a motor. There's 3 motors here. There's gonna be a motor here, 2 on drive. That's all 6 of my motors. If I end up needing 2 for this arm, which I probably will because it's so heavy, I could get myself in a pickle. So I'm thinking, this robot probably is too complex. So I'll just put a note here. But I like that idea of being able to pick up multiple cubes at once. Let's see what else we can do. All right, kind of cute thing. You've probably seen these. This is a rolly grabber. So some kind of roller that's going to pick up the cubes. I like these generally. Let's do a simple robot. Maybe like, whew, 2, 2. There we go. All right, and boop. All right, this robot looks kind of silly, but look at this. So the cubes come in here. They kind of go up here, and whew, they kind of spit out here, and there is our cube it's spitting out, and fortunately, there's a goal right there. Perfect, and it's going to spit out into the goal. I like that idea. That seems cool, and it kind of falls in the goal. Whee! All right, that seems pretty solid. This has a similar problem to this robot, though. So this one is great. I'll just put notes. 1 cube at a time, though. I'll put a sad face there. This one has the same problem. It can hold maybe 2 cubes at a time. And honestly, this might be enough. I wonder if there's an easier way I could do this, though. An easier way I could hold 2 cubes at a time. This one I don't like. This one seems cool. This might be onto something. I actually kind of like this robot, especially if I'm going for a super simple robot that can score a lot of points. This might be a nice one to go with. Let's see what other options we can come up with, though. I don't usually just draw 3 robots. I draw a ton. All right. You guys have seen this robot before. Here, I'll just draw it because you guys are probably thinking of it. Here's Blockbuster. This robot, when I drew it the first time, I really liked it. And I actually still like this robot a lot. There we go. So it's there. I'm going to go ahead and put some things right there. And I basically have a bucket here. I can pick up a bunch of cubes. So the cubes kind of come in here. And then when I'm ready to score, I'm just going to put a dashed line to be like, yep. Then when I'm ready to score, we just lift. Beautiful. This is looking great. Hang on. I'm running out of room on top of my paper. Yeah, there we go. Pew, pew. And the cubes plop out here. Cute. I like it. Easy enough. So it could be either of those. That seems pretty solid. I like that. It looks like I could hold many cubes. I like this robot in general. It is a little bit more complicated to have a bucket that can store the cubes and then is able to dump them at the end. I wouldn't say it's too complicated, but this is slightly more complicated. All right, let's see if there's any other options. All right, here, this is just ridiculous. So even if you have a ridiculous idea, it's fun to throw it on paper. Say that I've got myself a robot, and it's going to look like... let me get the geometry right. I might mess this up the first time, so you guys might have to watch me draw this robot 3 times. How does this go? I think it's a... No, it's... I already messed it up. Oh well, I'll go for it, and hopefully you guys will be able to see what's going on. You're like, what on earth is that? So basically, the cubes come on here. Cubes come on here. Yeah, no, I botched that so bad, it's not going to come out. Let's try it again. I need to use some paper. That's okay, that's why I have lots of paper. We want to save paper, but when you're drawing a robot, sometimes the robot is more important. There we go. I got a big stick kind of sticking out in the middle of my robot. You're like, Ben, why on earth would you do that? There we go. So I've got myself a nice big arm, and it's just like a nice flat thing. I kind of like that. So basically the cubes are here. They come in here. This is a roller grabber that's going to spin them in. All right, that seems reasonable. I told you guys I've never designed these robots before. This robot is a completely new invention, and who knows, maybe it'll be a video of mine. Most likely, most of these robots will never see the light of day. But here's the cool thing. When I take this robot, you're like, why would you make the arm this weird zigzaggy shape? So what I do is when I'm drawing, I'll make everything. All right, so that seems solid. This arm is actually able to rotate around, and when you flip that arm upside down, it looks like something like this. There we go. And all the cubes are on here, and conveniently falling off into a goal. You're like, that looks obnoxious, Ben. Yeah, I agree with you. It looks totally obnoxious and ridiculous. But maybe it'll work. I'll throw it out there as an idea. I think this is too complex, though. Cool idea. I think it would be a fun gimmick, but I don't think this robot is going to actually be any good. Cool. Let's do some other robots. I like that claw robot. I'm wondering if I could do something cute with that. Maybe something like this. And I really like these roller grabbers. And we don't have time to go into all of it. But in general, roller grabbers, if you can use these spinny things over a claw, it's so much better. So what if I just have a wall here and a spinny doohickey right here? The cubes, there we go. Basically, the cubes are chilling right here. They come in here. They touch the roller grabber, kind of go around it just like that. Here, I'll have bump there. There we go. The cubes come up here, and they kind of just bubble in here. And so I've got a few cubes stacked up. Oh, I need a taller fence, don't I? They're falling out. Whew. All right, they're not falling out. And then this robot, when he goes to score the cubes, it's pretty obvious. All he's got to do. Nice. I drew my arm in the down position. There we go. Arm's in that position now. All this guy's got to do is... There we go. The cubes are plopping out into the goal. There we go. Looks like a beautiful robot. Cool. Now you guys see me making all kinds of mistakes. That is how drawing robots goes. So what I like to do is I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to continue drawing these guys. Where are we? Camera. There we go. I'm going to continue drawing some of these if you want to just watch me. What I would suggest you guys do, go ahead, maybe 5 minutes or so, draw some of your own. See what you come up with, see what you do, and then after this, we're going to dive into the world's robot that I said that I would do. The really good, the States robot, world's robot. I got some ideas for that. It's going to be kind of up in there. So go ahead, if you got pencil and paper, go ahead and draw. If you're like, I don't know what to draw, go and just watch me. I'm going to sketch a few more, but I'm going to be quiet for a minute so you can draw, and then we're going to share our robots. I'll have you guys hold them up to the camera, and you'll be like, hey, Ben, check out what I did. And hopefully your robots will look better than this one, because you know, it's okay. Sometimes you get good robots, sometimes the robot gets you. So go ahead, take a few minutes to draw. I'm going to put my camera back at my desk so you guys can see me drawing, but yeah, I don't know entirely what's going to come out of it. Oh wow, I see some of you guys' designs. They look awesome. Yeah, if you finish something and you want to show it, go ahead and just hold it up to the camera. I would love to see what you guys have got. I'll give you guys about 2 more minutes, kind of as we continue drawing. I see some amazing drawings though. You guys are doing awesome. We'll talk some more about kind of what they are. Oh wow, look at all those beautiful drawings. We'll talk about some of them in just a minute here. If you're still drawing, go ahead and finish up in the next 1 or 2 minutes. Get a few good robots. I've got one that's like in my head right now that I'm trying to get out. So my last drawing of it was a catastrophe. And so is this one. Yeah, keep going. I won't interrupt you too much, hopefully, and then we'll share out in just a minute. All right. Well, welcome back, guys. I think it is time to see what you guys have made. So if you have a robot and you'd like to show it on the camera, I would love to see all of your designs. I'm going to go ahead and scroll through all the Zoom pictures and see what we've got. Oh, wow. I see quite a few cool robots. I see a robot that's got an elevator on the top. It like has a basket and it fills it up and then it lifts it out to dump it into the zone. I see one that's got a ramp on the back that kind of fills it into a back tray. That looks really interesting. I see one that looks like it has a scissor lift on it. That looks very cool. We've got a gigantic ramp, it looks like, that puts it in. I've got something that looks like an elevator, kind of grabs the cube, stacks it up, or lifts it up to the goal. All kinds of interesting designs. Wow, awesome. Cool, so just some last minute designs that I made as well. I'll show you guys these just so you can like see what I was thinking. Most likely, like I said, most of these will probably not work. This one, I was like, hey, I wonder if you could shoot the cubes. I'm sure that's gonna go well. I've tried throwing these cubes, like just... All right, so here's a silly way to test things. Basically, if you pretend to be the robot and you discover it's really hard to do what you want to do, the robot probably can't do it. So like, I was like, hey, could we shoot cubes? And so you grab a cube. I don't have a goal, but this is about the size of a goal. And I would put the goal like, you know, over here, and I would try and throw the cube in the goal. Oh, whoa, I made it. You have to throw it from where the robot is, right? If the goal's over here, I would have to throw it from the ground, and so I would have to be able to make this shot consistently, which, oh dear, bother. So, you know, I tried that a few times, and you're like, all right, well, throwing cubes is probably not gonna work. So I don't really like that design, but it was a cool thought. And it was super easy to test, right? I didn't have to build something. I just like tried throwing the cubes lying on the ground, and sure enough, you can't make them. And so I went a different route. Other things. I think I saw someone else build this robot. This is a cool idea. I actually really like this. This is a ramp. And look, if I have independent rollers here, if these are like separate motors, or some of them, maybe these are connected and these are connected. These are connected, so I can save some motors. I can spin all of them until a cube gets here. And the next cube, I can spin them until a cube gets here. I can basically store up cubes in my conveyor system. That seems like a cool way. So this way, I could store like 4 of them just on a giant ramp on my back. Maybe that's easy. This, I'll tell you, is probably harder than it looks, but maybe it's a cool idea. This idea I also saw with you guys. This one's a ramp into a bucket. It could be also a straight line up into a bucket. It could be something like this, where you've got like a big front on your robot, and the cubes kind of come up here. This one I've seen a number of times, and they kind of fall into a big bucket here. Oops, there's your drivetrain. Your robot is just a bucket. And then the bottom of the bucket comes up and dumps out all the cubes, and the cubes kind of plop out here into your goal. So that's another option. That's a kind of cool one that I've seen. I saw from you guys. This one is a bit of an interesting one, and I don't know if I want to talk about it much now. But this robot basically is trying to put a stack of cubes in the goal instead of trying to put them, like just drop them in like a normal person. This one is like trying to make a pile of cubes, a perfect stack of cubes up, and then put that stack into the goal. So I'll talk about this one more later because I have a cool video that goes with it. But that was another thought I had. All right, cool. So that is how I design robots. That's the first step. I'll show you what kind of the next step looks like in a little bit. But first, I promised you guys I would do a worlds robot. I'll tell you it's a little cheap. It's a little cheating to try and do worlds now, and it's probably not going to work. So I'm going to throw out some of my best guesses, but I will tell you it is too far from Worlds to guess what it's going to be. A month or two before, you can totally draw it. And maybe we'll do it at our Worlds briefing meeting. We'll kind of talk about what the robots are going to look like there. That's going to be a little bit later, though, so keep an eye out for when I have that meeting. For now, I'm just going to take a wild guess, and we're going to see what happens. We're not going to do, like, most likely this is going to be the robot that you're going to see, like, winning state championships, maybe doing really well at Worlds. I don't know if it's going to be the one that wins Worlds. Something else might come out. It's hard to say. But let me just throw down some stuff. I have no idea what I'm about to draw, so we're going to kind of play with it. But here's what I do know. Here is, oh, this is not a great slide. But let's get to this slide. This is the slide that I want. There we go. All right, so things that this robot's going to need to do. It has to drive, obviously. It's going to be able to knock red. It's going to have to be able to get a partial park. That's easy. It's going to pick up green and score green cubes, obviously. Oh, by the way, why did I pick green cubes on the last robot? Like, complete side tangent, but why green cubes? Why not purple? Why not red? Most likely you guys figured it out. It's because there's so many green cubes. There are 54 green cubes on the field. 31 of them start in the area that you can score. So many green cubes. There's 8 purple cubes. If there are 31 green cubes and 8 purple cubes, and I can get 6 cubes of the same color, it's going to be easier to get 6 out of the 31 rather than like 6 out of the 8. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of obvious. But that's part of the reason I chose green cubes. Is there advantages to purple cubes? Absolutely, but not at this level because you're not going to be stacking to level 2 anyway, so it kind of doesn't matter that much. Maybe in some other robots we're going to talk about later tonight, maybe it will matter. Maybe there is value in just a purple robot. But we'll talk about that later. Let's go ahead and dive into this more advanced robot, though. So what do I have so far? Knocking red cubes. We said pick up green cubes, core green cubes. Most likely, we're going to be picking up and scoring purple cubes as well. We'll pick up the purple cubes. We'll probably score them. Picking up the red cubes. Do you have to pick up red cubes to win Worlds, to do well at Worlds? My guess is no, but I'm not sure. That's going to be like a maybe. Part of the reason is because there's only 3 of them. And the question is, can I get all the points that I need without those last 3 cubes? And I think we might be able to, but I'm not sure. So this is something that's like still up in the air. I do not know. I'm going to make a robot that can't pick up red cubes because picking up red cubes is just so hard. Let's see. Scoring red cubes, if you're not picking them up, there's no use in scoring them. So we're going to nix these 2 from my list. Actually, here, let's draw in here. See if I remember how to do this. There we go. So I'm just going to kind of start crossing off ones that I don't like. So pick up red cubes. Oh, come on. There we go. Cross that one off. Cross off scoring red cubes. I'm picking up the purple cubes. I got to score them. Sorting the cubes, if I'm picking up green and purple, hands down, got to sort them. Fast drivetrain, that I'm going to put like a squiggly next to. Maybe. I don't know for sure. Maybe I'll keep that, maybe not. It depends on how the rest of my robot looks. Storing a lot of cubes. Yes, we absolutely need to score a lot of cubes. Full park, I think we're going to kill that one. That is 5 points. You're like, it says 10 points there, Ben. Yes, it does say 10 points. But here's an interesting thing. If I get a full park, what do I not get? I don't get a partial park. So it is 5 additional points. So I consider this a 5-point thing. Even though it says 10, even though it's worth 10, I consider it only worth 5 points because it loses me 5 points when I do it. I already had a partial park when I go for a full park. It gives me 5 more points. Maybe that's going to be enough to win something really important, but probably not. I don't think so. At least not yet. Maybe later. So that's cool. I'm going to kill that one. Empty the supply zone. I think we're going to need that. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. But the buddy park, if we're not going for a full park, there's no point in trying to do this buddy park. That makes no sense. Why do we need to empty the supply zone? So, on the field, there are a lot of cubes. There aren't that many, though. I mean, I've posted a video already of someone getting all the green cubes. One robot getting all the green cubes. And there's other videos online of people getting that. So if you're doing a normal tournament, absolutely there are enough cubes on the field. But if you are like trying to win the state championship or win Worlds, my guess is we are going to need more cubes. Maybe we don't need to even empty the supply zone all the way, but we're going to need some of those cubes because we are just going to flat out run out of cubes. There will not be enough on the field for us, especially if you have 2 robots going Hungry Hungry Hippo all at the same time, right? We're going to probably run out of cubes, and there are a lot in the supply zone. How many are in the supply zone? Like 31 or something like that. So there's 23 green, 8 purple. It's 31. So yes, we probably are going to need to get those cubes. In terms of percentages, let's see, there's 73 cubes on the field, 31 are in the supply zone. That's not quite half, but it's like almost half of the cubes are in the supply zone, just by numbers. Like 40 some odd percent, I think. 40% maybe? I didn't do this math ahead of time, I should have. But there's a lot of cubes in there. So we probably are gonna need to get those. Even if we don't empty it, we gotta get some of them out. So, how on earth are we gonna do this? I don't know. Let's see what we got. I'm gonna go ahead and draw some. I'm gonna be quiet though as I draw it. If you have any thoughts for how to do this, how do you make a robot that can do all of the things that we want to do? Draw it. Or if you want to stare at a blank sheet of paper and maybe something will pop into your head, that tends to happen. Try drawing it too. So I'll be quiet. I'm gonna draw a robot or two, and then we'll talk through them at the end. Wow, these robots are not simple. All right, so I'm going to talk through some of my robot designs. If you're still drawing, go ahead and keep drawing. But I'm just going to kind of talk through some that I've come up with so far. So far, this is the robot that I kind of like the most. It sorts based on size. So basically, the idea is if you've got a green cube, and I didn't do a great job differentiating them, and a purple cube, whoa, hello. Purple cube's bigger. That is not a great illustration, but purple cube's bigger than green cube, obviously. So what I'm thinking we could do is we could like have the green cubes kind of come up here and like pop out in here, because there's a little small gap here that's just big enough for green cubes but not big enough for purple cubes. Greens come in here, purples keep going up, purples are up here, and then purples are up here. Here I've got green and purple, and they're kind of going up that first part. So this is where green and purple are, and then it sorts them based on size. Then you've got both trays. I don't really like this mechanism. This one's super clean, right? This top tray, it just like folds up. So this was it before it folded. That's cool. There we go. The next one, the next tray, like this one somehow has to like fold that way. So this one's folded up, and then like this one like flips out like that. And that seems kind of crazy. But that looks like it could be an option. Another option is the top tray folds, just like we talked about before. You can't see it. You can't see it because it fell off the page, and so I stopped drawing, so I didn't draw on the table. But basically, the top tray could fold up just like it did before. The bottom tray, maybe it doesn't fold at all. Maybe it's got a conveyor belt on it that like kind of lifts the cubes up, and they can fall in, or these can fall in. It's one or the other. It's not both at the same time, because the top is going to be purple cubes, the bottom's green cubes. Again, I've got that notch here that only green can fit through. So that's an option too. Basically, the cubes are kind of coming in here just like they were. They're splitting both directions here, depending on size. I don't know if I like that one. Here's another kind of crazy option that I really don't like that much. But so far, this is kind of what I'm thinking. I kind of like these more, the ones that sort based on size. But imagine you got your robot just like we had before. Instead, though, oh, this is going to be super hard to draw. It's only got one bucket, but it's split in half the hard way. So let me go ahead and draw. This one needs a 3D drawing. Rarely do I do 3D drawings of robots, so this is going to be really interesting. So here's I'm going to draw the bucket first, because that's kind of the most important part. There we go, it's split down the middle. And here, there we go, you can kind of see the form of the bucket. So this is drawn 3D, and then we split our bucket down the middle. Cool. And so I can have blocks kind of falling in this side, and they're going to go in there. I've also got blocks that are going to fall into this side. Then on the front of our robot, we've got these spinning things, just like we did before. There we go. Kind of like that. And the blocks are coming up here. But then at the very top, I'm going to have some kind of like gate thing. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to draw the gate in. But basically, there's a gate here that can go... Wow, that looks great. You have no idea what this thing is. There we go. So there's a gate here. This gate can switch back and forth. It can go both directions. And the reason it can go both directions is it has a little light sensor in here. So there's a little light sensor in there. It works the same as the other robots, but it's got a light sensor. The gate goes both directions, and it sorts them into each of these two buckets. Each of these two buckets now can like dump independently. So this bucket could dump, or this bucket could dump. This one looks super confusing with having like a gate and everything, and I know that it's an awful drawing. That's how 3D robots always turn out. And then I've got the drivetrain down here. There's the wheels, and it's 3D too. Cool. So hopefully that robot kind of makes sense. I don't really like it. Yeah, but that's another option. Oh, how do you get into the supply zone? So most likely, and this is not my idea, this is an idea that I got from watching other people's robots. There's a kind of cool thing you can do if you have a slot in your robot. So basically, if you got a drivetrain here, we've got like our intake, intake is here. And our intake is kind of bouncy. It can like, this whole thing can like kind of go up and down just a little bit. And I've got a big gap in my robot here. And then I've got the whole rest of the robot on top. There's my gap for the cube sorting. The cubes are like coming in here. The small cubes are, the big cubes are coming up here. They're coming in here. Oh, here, let me just draw another design that I've been playing with, kind of toying around with. There we go. Some ramps there. Cool, that looks good. But I've got this big awkward slot here. And the reason is that you can drive into the bar. So if this is the bar, basically you run over it. The bar kind of comes under here. It looks like a circle if you look at it from this end, right? So the bar will come, the bar comes right at this height. It pushes the intake up out of the way. The intake's got little ramps here. And so the bar hits here, pushes the intake up. The intake goes up just a little bit. And then that lets the bar kind of pass through and into the robot. I know there's a bit of a hacky design, or hacky drawing of the design. It does actually work. It seems ridiculous and crazy and like it'll never work. But it's an option. But here, check this out. This is also kind of cool. There we go. So I've got all my cubes in here. I've got my small cubes on the bottom, big cubes on the top. And then when this whole thing is on an elevator, and it goes straight up and straight down. And when I raise it up enough, this is sloping. It's sloping. So all the cubes are kind of naturally sliding this way. But they hit this wall, right? So here, I'll draw the cubes stacked up against the wall. And when I raise it up just a little bit, I end up with something like this. Let's see if I can get it drawn right. There we go. So it's gone up just a little bit. Look, all these purple cubes are now free to slide off. And there's the drive base. This is a kind of cool idea, and they can slide off into that goal. Oh, you need the big gap. There we go. Cool, so purple cubes can now slide off into the drive base. You then lift it up higher, and then all these green cubes that are kind of stacked up in here can drive off on or can fall off. Now, maybe you're looking at this and you're saying, like, Ben, that's cool, but that's like way beyond where I'm hoping to build, at least initially. And I agree with you. I'm not at the stage where I'm building a robot that can get under the bar. I'm starting to play with the sorting ideas. It's getting close, and I'll post a video when we're ready. But yeah, so that's kind of that. Now, I think, hopefully, you guys have had plenty of good time to draw and kind of goof around. What I'd like to do now is kind of want to show you what the next steps are going to look like. So I want to give you guys a chance. I know some of you guys were like, hey, can we do breakout rooms? I want to give you guys a chance to do that. But first, if you're like looking at this stuff and you're like, hey, this is awesome. Look, we got some good robot designs, but you're like, I don't know what to do next, especially if you're a coach. I want to give you guys a really cool special. So basically, this is basically a large part of how I make money. If you guys are not aware, I'm a college student currently. I'm like paying for tuition. Robotics is a large part of my work. I coach teams, I work for schools, I do all kinds of stuff like that. But part of what I do is I also do trainings. So I've got a basically special one-night training course on how to build a robot. And this has been an awesome course. I know a lot of people have gone through it. I know probably some people here have gone through it. And basically it is, how do you take something that you've drawn and how do you make the stuff? How do you take something that looks like this? Well, let's start with a simpler one first so I can point to stuff that will actually make sense and have names. How do you take something like this? How do you take the drivetrain? How do you build a really good drivetrain? How do you build an arm? How do you build an intake? And we talk through, all right, how do you find all of those things? How do you do all that? And really get a good robot out of it. And then how do you guide students through it or guide the rest of your team if you're a student or a parent? Kind of what does it look like? How do you build a robot and kind of what does that process look like? So I'm gonna send you guys a link. I would love to see you guys there. It's usually they're much more expensive. Some of you guys have a big discount. You're welcome to sign up. If you have questions about it, you're like, I need some help, go and shoot me an email. Also, it's a live course, by the way. It's not like a pre-recorded thing. I've got those as well. This one is going to be live. It's going to be just like this, but it's going to be a smaller group of people. We're going to be able to do an awesome Q&A together and really have a lot of fun. So if you're interested in this, I'm going to go ahead and send you guys all the link. You can click it. You can sign up. It is coming up basically next Monday. So I'm going to basically be with you live. We're going to be building robots. I'm going to show you robots that I've built. I'm going to show you the mechanisms, how they integrate, how they work, kind of how all of this works, and how you teach it to your team. Now, I do want to be clear. This is not a step-by-step build instruction session. It's not like I'm going to pick a robot and say, all right, let me take it apart piece by piece with you. That's not what Vex is about. The point is, I want to show you how do you create any robot you want. You could have drawn the robot at the beginning with 3 claws, and I want to show you how would you have built that robot. I want to give you also the skills so you could build this robot, if that was the one you chose, something like Blockbuster. If you choose one of these crazy robots, there's no way that in an hour I could build one of these with you, but I can show you the techniques and the skills and the strategies you're going to need to do that. So that's what this is about. It's really cool. I know it's really helped quite a few teams. I'm going to go ahead and send you guys the link in the chat real quick. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and sign up. I'd love to have you there. Other than that, though, we're going to go ahead and basically share out our designs. So I'm going to put you guys into breakout rooms in just a sec, and you'll have 5 or 6 people in the breakout room. Go ahead, share your designs. If you've been drawing them on paper, show your designs on the camera. Show the other people there. If you're like, I don't want to share my design, that's fine too. That's why there's 6 people in the room. If you're like, hey, I don't have a design on paper, but I have one that I want to share, like using my like just talking, that's awesome as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a chance to do that. Give me just a sec to type this in and set up the breakout rooms. But if you guys like to join me for this, I would love to have you guys building robots with me. It's gonna be awesome. But yeah, that is officially it for tonight though. We are going to move into Q&A sessions though, so if you have any questions, any thoughts, any concerns, basically whatever you want to share with me, I'd love to see what you're doing. I'd love to see what you're up to. I love seeing all of you guys, but thank you guys so much for being here, and I cannot wait to see all of the amazing things you guys build.